Car chases are dangerous and unpredictable. Viewer discretion advised.
The other officers are definitely in the area, and that's a huge plus. That's what it's all about for the public, because they're out here. They're making sure that if he goes through an intersection or runs an intersection at high speeds, at least there's a law enforcement that's able to warn the public as they make their way through. And then, of course, when this comes to an end, we see three black and whites behind him. But, when it comes to an end, all of a sudden, you're going to see a lot more deputies arriving here to render aid to bring this situation, hopefully, to a peaceful end.
Stu, is Orange County Sheriff's Department the only agency on this pursuit, or will Newport Beach Police Department take over as well?
Well, so far it's just been, as far as we've seen only seen the Sheriff's Department. I did hear earlier on that Highway Patrol was involved, but like we've talked about on the other pursuits in the past, they have to relinquish command. So basically what had happened was the Orange County the Orange County Sheriff's Department got behind that vehicle, and then they literally told the CHP, we got this, you guys can back off, you need to back off, and that's what they did.
All right, Stu, thank you so very much for that. We are going to go ahead and welcome in our CBS 2 News viewers. This is Juan Fernandez along with Sharon Tay and Stu Mundell up in the chopper right now. We've been following this pursuit now for the last 25 to 30 minutes or so here in the Orange County area, now specifically in the Newport Beach area. The driver of this silver Mercedes-Benz has a no bail warrant. Police in Laguna Beach apparently tried to pull him over earlier this afternoon, and that's when this pursuit started. And Sharon is going to fill us in on some information. He apparently had made some threats to police, right, Sharon?
Indeed. He said that he had a gun and that they would have to shoot him in order to stop him. This pursuit has mainly stayed in the Orange County area. It's gone high speed, low speeds. He's acted irrationally when he's making turns, blowing through lights and stop signs. Right now we are in, I believe, Newport Beach. That driver is still there. And you see a number of sheriffs, or that's Highway Patrol right there, after that suspect in that silver Mercedes.
Stu, well, what can you tell us? Where are we right now?
And a changing of the guards. It sounds like Highway Patrol is basically taking this back over again.
Okay.
The helicopter now is a Highway Patrol helicopter, and you see that the lead unit right there, the lead black and white, also Highway Patrol. It was funny that you guys brought that up. I don't know if you have inside information, but we're kind of leading me, trying to get me to say that. But as soon as we talked about it, there it is. You can see that the Highway Patrol taking this back over. Right now, I can tell you, we're in the Newport Beach area, and it just continues on out here. These are very, like we talked about earlier on, very wide roads, very open area, and residential, and some business, and some shopping out here. But the streets themselves not crowded with traffic. The driver, don't know, can't tell you. Does he know this area? Has he just been lucky? Because he does make these turns into neighborhoods and basically drives through these neighborhoods and then makes his way back out. Haven't seen him corner himself in any way, shape, or form. But right now it looks like we're making another turn, and I'm not sure if this is an actual road, meaning is it something that like a public road, or if there we go. Well, he thought about going in an underground parking garage, but again, this person making threats at that he wants a bad ending. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Wants a bad ending for the end of the chase. So I'm not sure about if using a is a plan to bring this to an end, or possibly try to elude these officers. But you can see the California Highway Patrol right behind him, and we do know California Highway Patrol, they are pit maneuver qualified. And so maybe they will, but with the possible threat of a weapon inside that vehicle, they probably will not, just because of officer safety, and they don't want to bring this thing to an end in a bad way.
Indeed. So, Stu, this is an industrial park area, I see?
It was business, but we did see some apartment buildings there at the corner of one of the major streets. I've got to tell you, love the Orange County. Don't get down here that often, so I'm not super familiar with this area. You can see he's slowing down though, and it does look like it just from what we've seen so many times in the past, it looks like he's looking for a place to turn or maybe try to bring this to an end because his speeds have really slowed down. He's all over to the right. I've seen him try to make a couple of turns into parking garages, but he hasn't, maybe because there's a barricade or maybe he's changed his mind. But right now, the officers from California Highway Patrol right behind him and continuing around out here in Newport Beach, making another turn. That's the area that I believe that's the turn we made just a few moments ago.
And those apartments, Stu, are the colony apartments there, as you see, as you're showing us in your shot there, a very large community right there in the Orange County, Newport Beach area. So a lot of people live there. You can see the parking lot there where they park their cars, and it looks like this driver, hopefully the driver won't go into one of those underground garages, as you mentioned, because that would be a problem there for officers and everybody else involved. It looks like he's now just going around in a circle. One big circle.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, the positive on that is if he stays in an area and keeps making these turns, then officers from the California Highway Patrol will be able to possibly, oh shucks.
All right, we kind of lost Stu for now, but in case you're just joining us, we are watching pursuit over Newport Beach. We hear the helicopter intermittently. Now we have Stu Mundell back. Stu, where is he? We saw him make a turn there.
Yep.
Well, yeah, we did lose him behind some of these buildings right here, and it looks like he's in an area with a lot of parking garages. I'm just hoping he doesn't dive into one of them, and we don't. We'll figure it out there in a second or two. Just went by that large building, so he's going to be coming out on the other side. Again, these are apartments and businesses, so there's some businesses coming up right there. We're trying to move the helicopter. It seems like we're moving slow. Trust me, we are moving pretty quickly. It's just that this is a long distance away, but take a look at that. This thing dead ends into a parking garage.
Oh boy.
So we'll see where he goes right there, and then hopefully he's going to be coming back out. There he goes.
He goes
into the parking garage. If he parks in there, it is going to be an issue for the officers. It's going to be a confined space, but then again, he might just make his way out the other side, which he did.
I think he did. I think he did, Stu.
I'm telling Fulvio, he's back out. He's back out the other side, and it looks like he's coming back this way again. So this guy is just basically driving and keeping the officers at arm's length as this continues on out here in the Newport Beach area.
Yeah, maybe getting a little bit tired there, Stu. Again, the pursuit being blocked there by a building, but Stu and his pilot there getting around it. You can see the Mercedes right there about to make, looked like it was going to make a left-hand turn, but just going right there through the intersection. Right now, it looks like either the driver's tired or confused or just not sure exactly where he's going. But Stu, you were showing us earlier, there's quite a bit of law enforcement behind this pursuit.
Well, definitely, especially with those threats that were made. They're going to make sure that when it comes to an end, they have a number of officers that are going to be able to be there. Command presence might be part of that, one of the words that they use, just to maybe almost intimidate that suspect into not using that weapon. And you also saw how these officers almost leapfrogging through those intersections, basically one of them blocking traffic while the other ones are able to get through safely. The speeds, they've always been really kind of slow. And we don't know. We don't know if this guy has a plan, but if he stays in an area where he's going to start making blocks and blocks and blocks for some reason, whatever that reason may be, they might be able to put those spike strips out in front of him. But if he continues just to pick random streets, it's going to be difficult to get some officers out in front of him. And also, I don't think every patrol vehicle has spike strips in them, so they're going to have to find one with spike strips, get it in place. So that's one of the reasons why they don't do that. But we also know that as California Highway Patrol, they definitely do the pit maneuver. We've seen it in the past, but this driver saying that he has a weapon might just be enough for the officers from the California Highway Patrol
not to do anything at this point, because it becomes too dangerous. Again, we're dealing with a very irrational driver, a driver who is making threats, saying that he has a gun, not afraid to use it. And so
let's hope he keeps doing what he's doing
to,
here, which is basically staying in one concentrated area there near the Colony Apartments. Yeah, Newport Beach. There's that same turn he made earlier today. Just a few moments ago, he's back on the same road. And as Stu was saying, hopefully this gives officers a good opportunity to calculate his next move and lay down some spike strips and bring this to an end. But
yeah, again, we've seen those apartment complexes. He's been driving around those apartment complexes for the last, I would say, 15 minutes or so. I'm wondering if he knows someone who lives in this area, or he may have a home here in this area. Who knows at this point? Or he could just be desperate and not know what he's doing at this point.
I can tell you that suspect courteous enough to use his turn signals as he's making a turn right there. I thought maybe he had his hazards on, but it did look like he actually used his turn signals right there. California Highway Patrol, they're the ones that are chasing him. It's kind of a slower speed chase for sure. Right now, though, he seems to really like this area with all these buildings, making it a little bit difficult for us to stay on it constantly. But we've been lucky so far. We haven't lost sight of that vehicle. And then again, every time he drives by one of these parking garages, I'm just thinking to myself, maybe he wants to dive into one of those. But even if he does, I don't see how that's going to benefit that driver in any way. The officers are just going to follow him in there. We might not be able to see what's going on, but it's going to come to an end the same way. That person is going to go into custody, even if they're in a parking garage. It isn't like the officers are going to be like, oh my gosh, it's a parking garage. We're not going to follow him in there. They're definitely going to be right behind him. The helicopter might not be able to see it, but I can tell you those officers are going to relay exactly what's going on to the other, to their bosses. So it's just one of these weird situations, but it does look like we are continuing just to make turns and driving through that same area again. And like you said, maybe this is an area that he knows. Maybe he works here. Maybe he used to work here. It just
looks like he's entering
just the why is just so confusing.
Is he going to park, Stu? It looks like he's going to park the car.
So possibly a standoff could begin at this time.
Yeah.
Now that he's pulled over into a parking spot.
Well, let's hope not. Let's hope he's had a chance to think about what he's been doing and he turns himself in. But as you see here, a pursuit that we've been following here on CBS 2 and KCAL 9, turning into what now appears to be a standoff. Now this driver has nowhere to go. You can see he's boxed in to this parking space right there. There are planters in front of him, planters to the right of the car, and of course a lot of law enforcement right there blocking his way out. So hopefully now officers, as you see there, with guns drawn, they are ready to see what's going to happen here. And again, he only made threats that he had a gun, Sharon, so we don't know if he actually did have a gun, but let's hope he did not. And there's that canine Stu was telling us about earlier today, already on scene right there. So officers are going to have to wait to hear from the lead officer, I believe, Stu, before they make their next move. And it looks like did the car pull out of the spot? It's turned around now, Stu, right?
It basically pulled.
Okay. You see that Mercedes there? It's pulled into a parking spot.
Okay, Stu's signal is coming in and out, but as you saw there, the car was parked into the spot and then it backed out, now facing the officers. So hopefully officers have a better look at this driver as he sits and waits in his silver Mercedes to see what he is going to be doing next. And as soon as we reconnect with Stu, of course, we're going to be bringing you those live pictures. And Stu, you're back.
Well, you can see that that vehicle basically turned around and is now almost in a type of standoff situation. This is really not what anybody wants, especially myself. We don't want to see something like this. And I have to stay a lot bit wider on this because there has been a lot of talk about suicide. There's been talk about suicide by officer, meaning that basically he's going to push the hand of the officers to attack him. So doing this, what he's doing right there, if he makes an aggressive move and tries to ram those vehicles, I can assure you officers, even they'll have to. There'll be some sort of altercation. So that's the reason why we're staying a little bit wider. That's also one of the reasons why I was showing you who is here and what they have. It does look like the Highway Patrol is backed out again. It looks like it's Newport Beach and the Orange County Sheriff's Department. I know the helicopter is still California Highway Patrol, but right now you can see it's kind of a standoff situation. A little of me wants to get a little closer just to see what's going on inside that vehicle, but I don't want to trouble the public. with
Yeah,
some kind
sure.
of graphic image.
Well,
Yeah.
Stu, part of this whole deal now would be one of those officers trying to communicate with the driver, correct? Trying to get
Oh,
him to come
definitely.
out, trying to bring this to a peaceful end.
Oh, definitely. But these officers right here, I'm sure they've all had some sort of work where they obviously they deal with the public all the time. But these, I don't think anybody down there is a crisis negotiator. They might be calling for one already. There might be a move for that to happen. But as it stands right now, this is more of a standoff type of situation, or even a type of barricade as it would be. But those officers, you saw what they have. They have
some heavy
large
artillery
weapons,
there.
and they are, yeah, they have the artillery. That is for sure. And and so that driver obviously sees that as well. And now it's kind of one of these things where it's a standoff. And also you have to think: did he know that this is a little boxed-in area where he could do this, or was that just a bad choice of turns?
Yeah.
But as it stands right now, it seems to be a standoff, and I'm sure those officers are trying, if not are, communicating with him.
Stu, we're getting word from the CHP that apparently there is a bag, some sort of bag on the passenger seat, and he keeps reaching for it. So, again, officers very careful, treating this situation very delicately, more so probably than most pursuits, because this man is so volatile, and anything could happen because he's threatened to use his gun if necessary.
And it might be an empty bag, or it might be a
You
gun
never know,
inside a
but
bag. But again, you
nevertheless-
never know with the mental status of this guy, who obviously does not want to go into custody. Somebody who has a no bail warrant, who has led police, local police agencies, the California Highway Patrol on a pursuit that has now come to a standoff here in Newport Beach inside a parking lot of an industrial area and also of a residential area as well.
And right now, you said CHP had pulled away, and now it's
Is it back to
Laguna
Newport?
Beach PD on scene?
It's going to be Newport Beach.
Oh,
a lot of
Newport Beach.
Newport Beach, I believe. I'm going to double check it. I've been wrong in the past. Yeah, these are all Newport Beach, and I think that the officers that are right behind them, those are going to be the Sheriff's Department. So that's Orange County Sheriff's Department. But you can see these guys; they are not playing around. They, like you said, artillery is probably the best word to use right there. They have their weapons drawn, and they are definitely all of them are totally focused on that vehicle, and I'm sure that driver sees that as well. Now, again, threats and action, two different things, but hopefully this is going to end peacefully. But right now, it definitely seems like this is very much a standoff, and that vehicle, don't know what he could do. I mean, there's a chance he could try to back up, go through those hedges, but it doesn't seem like that's the plan for the driver. The driver wants some sort of resolution. We'll see. Hopefully, it's going to be just some cuffs on him, and he's going to spend some time in custody.
Now, Stu, is law enforcement still above as well, watching from the air?
Oh, I'm sure the helicopter is still here. It was the California Highway Patrol. It is. It's orbiting. We're kind of parked there a little bit lower. If we see them, I'll definitely get a shot of it. Yeah. But right now, you can see the officers that are out here, and that one car might be moving, but this also might be a plan to basically work any possible exits. Like you can see right now, if he drove across those hedges or put it in reverse, he might be able to find a way out of there. But that's not an SUV. It's a big Mercedes, but it's not an SUV, and we don't know if there's something inside those hedges. And also, just from our angle, we know it's a curb, but we don't know how high that curb is either.
All right, Stu, while we continue watching your shot there, we want to say goodbye to our CBS 2 News viewers who joined us just a little bit ago. We're going to have the very latest for you coming up on this standoff and this pursuit coming up on CBS 2 News at 5. So if you want to keep it there, please do so. Pat Harvey and Jeff Michael will have the very latest information for you. Meantime, Juan Fernandez, Sharon Tay, Stu Mundell, Sky 9, still live above the scene right now of this standoff in Newport Beach.
Stu, this particular standoff is not too far from the Fashion Island Shopping Center, is it?
No, actually, we are actually hovering pretty much directly over it, looking down a little bit to the south from the shopping center. So we are very, very close to this. I believe the complex is actually called Newport Center. if that sounds familiar out there. But I believe that's the actual area that's out here. And you can see the officers, some of them, I'm not giving away positions, I can tell you that. Some of them made their way up onto that parking garage so that they have a little bit of a better angle seeing what's going on down there. The other officers, like you said, heavy artillery, all of them have their guns out, and they're all very focused on that vehicle right now. And you can see that tenseness that's going on, that one officer just kind of twitching. So you can tell, I mean, even though it wasn't high speeds, I'm sure these officers still have some sort of adrenaline. They are human beings, and now they're forced to basically focus and just kind of keep an eye on that vehicle. If he floors it, tries to ram those cars, it's really anybody's game what could happen. He's not going to be able to get out. I can kind of assure you of that. There are no drivers in those cars. Those cars right now, their officers are all outside using them as shields. But there's a lot of weapons out right now in this very tense situation as this pursuit with that driver that threatened suicide many times has come to an end out here in this Newport parking lot.
And the fact that he turned the car around to face the officers is sort of an indication that that could happen, that he could ram or try to ram officers. In that case, that would be assault with a deadly weapon, and the officers would then have cause to fire upon him.
Yeah, definitely, and I guess it's almost an aggressive stance. When he was just parked, it looked like it just kind of came to an end, but then when he turned that vehicle around and now is head-to-head with those officers, that is almost a little bit more of an aggressive stance. But you can see, he might be able to back it up and see maybe he could get out of there, but I don't think that's his plan, because he hasn't made any kind of moves like that. It's also been very calm and just kind of driving this afternoon. But now, with all those threats and where he's at and how he's boxed in, it's very tense. Even up here, I can tell you, I'm a little worried about how this is going to come to an end.
Well, Stu, if there's any silver lining to this, it's the fact that he is in a contained area right here, giving officers a chance to clear other pedestrians and other people who may be parked in this parking lot a chance to get away. So that definitely is a good thing. And right now, as we watch this unfold, it all is going to determine on what this driver is going to do next.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely, and you know that the officers have probably made calls for some kind of crisis negotiator to arrive here at the scene. I'm sure that was already in the works when the first words of suicide were coming out of that driver's mouth. And now it's just a matter of getting that crisis negotiator to this location. You can see some of the officers moving their vehicles around, and they probably are going to be doing that just in case there is, instead of a confrontation, a flee, where he's going to try to drive out of this area. But right now, just from what's been said and how he's acting, I'm thinking that it's definitely going to be a confrontation. Hopefully it's going to end peacefully. But you can see officers are down there, and first they were just kind of boxing them in, and now they're starting to become a little bit more tactical, moving around in different directions. And also, like you said, they might be just doing this to get a better look inside that vehicle, to see if it's an empty bag, to see if he actually has a weapon, just to clarify some of that. And it also will change how they approach or how they will negotiate with this person.
Yeah. We're talking about you're looking at the Newport Center area, and that's an area full of businesses. Of course, the mall is there, the shopping center. It's what's known as the entertainment district. You see a number of cars parked there. I suspect that with all of these, this is going on, that those people who work in that building will not be able to go anywhere at this point until this comes to a peaceful end.
Sharon, honestly, that's one of the things I was really thinking about when this came to an end right here. A lot of these people are at work right now, and if this goes on for hours and hours and hours, which it may likely happen, these folks are not going to be able to get to their vehicles. Hopefully they're going to find a way, a ride home, and maybe be able to get to work tomorrow and retrieve their vehicles. But a lot of folks are not going to be able to get back to their cars, the people that work in this area, and just drive home. So that's something to contend with as well. Right now, though, that it's going to be it's a standoff situation. And if he backs out, that's going to change it up a little bit. But I'm not sure that that Mercedes is going to be able to basically get through those shrubs and over that curb. But I also don't think that driver wants to flee. I think that he wants this type of confrontation, which makes this so much more dangerous.
But what's interesting, Stu, is after he moved the car out of that second parking space and turned the car to face the officers, he hasn't made any other moves. He hasn't revved the car. We haven't seen any smoke or any sort of movement. It's just kind of like a sit and wait situation right now.
It's a stare down,
yeah,
essentially.
Right, a stare down.
Yeah, well, this is one of those situations where, you know, I'm not going to chance it to push in and really see what he's doing. I can tell you he is moving around in that vehicle, but I'm not gonna push in and have a tight shot and then have something tragic occur while we're just looking to see what that suspect is doing. So right now, I can't tell you. I know he is moving around in there. He's not just sitting inside that vehicle. But I can't tell you what he's doing. I can't see if he's gesturing. I can't say, is he angry, or is he just basically just saying, whatever. So right now, this is the shot we have, and I can tell you just the stance of the vehicle and the fact that he can see those officers with their weapons out, and he has not gotten out of that vehicle, just shows some sort of just defiance. He's being very defiant and basically challenging these officers, but these officers are not going to just randomly open fire. It's going to be a long standoff. They'll talk this guy down, hopefully, and you know, it might be several hours, but hopefully he's just going to wind up in custody when this comes to an end.
Let's hope that he's giving himself a chance to think this all out as he does stare down the barrels of those guns that the officers have pointed at him, and he decides that, you know, he is going to turn himself in and bring this all to an end. But here we go, a pursuit, now a standoff in Newport Beach with the driver of a silver Mercedes-Benz who was wanted. He had a warrant out for him, no bail warrant, which means that whatever crime he was wanted for is pretty serious enough that there is no bail. They want him in custody no matter what. And from the very beginning, he apparently was on the phone with officers saying that he had a gun and that we would not go into custody, and that, like Stu was saying, he wanted the worst of outcomes, which is obviously to not go back into custody at all. But here we go. We got a wide shot there of the Newport Beach area there, the Newport Center, as Sharon was telling us, and we are keeping our cameras at a safe enough distance for you to see the events unfolding. But of course, we want to make sure that nothing horrible happens on air as well, but we do want to bring you the very latest information, because a lot of people out, obviously, in the Newport Beach area are going to be affected by this, people who are parked in this parking lot, as well as their families waiting for their loved ones to come home. So we have this situation unfolding right now. The driver now staring down the barrels of the guns of the officers from Newport Beach, who are now essentially have taken over this pursuit. It was Laguna Beach PD that originally wanted him to pull over. The CHP for a short time was in charge, and now Newport Beach is in charge. So my guess is CHP might have been in charge because they were thinking about doing the pit maneuver, or throwing out some spike strips. But now that it's come to a standoff, Newport Beach is in charge.
Yeah, multi-agency effort here. The suspect, we're being told, that has some sort of bag in the passenger seat, and he's been reaching inside of that bag, and then reaching back, and we assume
being fidgety, right?
Yeah, being fidgety, and perhaps on the phone or talking to a crisis negotiator or one of the CHP officers there, who are trying to talk him down. So essentially, they're at a standoff. He led them on this chase. It ended up here at this the Newport Center business complex, and he parked normally, you
Yep,
know, face
yep.
in, and then he moved his car, and now he's facing officers, and right now he is staring down the barrels of those officers'
Several guns, yeah. And Stu,
several guns.
we're
Indeed.
watching some of those officers. It looks like everybody's now in place. We have the ones on top of the parking garage. We have the ones facing him. It seems like for now everybody is in their position. What do you think would happen next? My guess is to continue trying to communicate with this driver, right?
Well, definitely they're going to try to talk to him, but I can tell you one thing we can even see from a distance is those windows haven't rolled down, and the possibility of that suspect being able to actually communicate, as in just talk to those officers outside the vehicle, is probably none. If he's on a phone, that's something different, but I can tell you he's not talking to like that officer that we see right there. He's talking to somebody that may be at the police station or some other place. You'd think, or I would think, that there'd be more officers here. Perhaps they're still en route, but something they might do if this continues on as a standoff is they might actually try to break those windows at one point with a less than lethal type of weapon. A BB gun. They actually have some BB guns or some kind of beanbag gun where they can just break the windows, so that first they could try to talk to him, and then later they might actually shoot some sort of pepper balls or something like that, something to make it very uncomfortable to be inside that vehicle. But as it stands right now, standoff time, that's on the officer's side. That basically, and I've had officers say that to me in the past. Time is their biggest weapon. They can basically sit here as long as that guy wants, and eventually somebody, it's not going to be the officers because they'll get replacements in, but eventually that person that they're waiting out will come out of that vehicle or sadly make a move. Hopefully in this case will, like you said, come to his senses after thinking about what's going on and basically just give up.
You know, I'm surprised to see or not see officers behind his car in that adjacent parking lot there. Do you see any?
I don't, and I was looking earlier on. Actually, they are probably at a safer distance. Here they are. There's some of them. They're way out there. So, but that's the thing too. It looks as if that parking lot right there only has one way in, one way out, and that's being blocked right now by these officers right here. So even if he did jump the curb and get through those hedges, he would have to jump other curbs, as it would be to get out of that parking lot. And again, not an SUV. It is a nice big Mercedes, as it appears to be, but definitely not a four-wheel drive, and it definitely doesn't have that clearance. So, and again, I don't think that's the mindset of the driver. We haven't seen any attitude or any type of flee type of situation. It has just been, I'm keeping everybody at arm's length. I'm telling you what I want and why I'm pissed, and now it's a standoff. So this guy either needs to come to his senses, and hopefully he will, and go into custody. That's really the only thing that's the only option that he has.
Okay, we've just received word, Stu, that apparently the guy is communicating with police dispatch, and that he's on the phone with them and asking to speak with his mother.
Yeah, he's made a request, Stu, to apparently speak to his mother.
Yeah.
So hopefully the mom can convince him to turn himself in, because what mother would want this to end in a bad fashion? But we are getting this now from our assignment desk, who's been in contact with the Newport Beach Police Department. So whoever he is talking to is back at dispatch, just as you assumed, Stu, and you were correct with that. And now he's asking to speak to his mother. So this is a situation now where, as you said, time is on the officer's side right now. They're just going to wait to see if they can get this woman on the phone. And
hopefully she will be able to talk him down.
Yeah, definitely. Moms have a lot of power.
They sure do.
As a son, I can tell you that for sure. Whatever they say, you do, and hopefully that they can get a hold of his mom, and she can defuse the situation. But of course, this is a lot of psychological work right now. I'm sure there's crisis negotiators in the mix, and you know, the fact that he's communicating is perfect.
Yes.
That's what they want.
Keep him talking,
and
right?
that means that, yeah, keep him talking, and hopefully, you know, he'll work these demons out himself, and then like we've been saying, just go into custody. Don't turn this into something that it doesn't need to be. And you know, that's it. Tomorrow's another day,
Right.
and there's nothing you can't work out, basically.
I'm
So
sure.
just-
Yeah, I'm sure that's what his mom will tell him as well.
Tomorrow's another
to
day.
ask for mom indicates that he is desperate. He is scared.
And maybe he wants someone close to him
And
who
he
loves
needs
him
comfort,
to
to
give
talk
him
some reason,
comfort.
to
Yeah,
talk some reason into him.
I agree.
Yep. Yep. So again, this is one of those situations where it's very it's a standoff. Very, in the way he poised his vehicle at that end, and then of course the officers, they have their weapons out, and then what the threats that were made earlier on. Hopefully these are cries for help, and that's it. And there is no action behind those words. Hopefully,
Yeah.
that's what's going to be going on out here right now. Though very much of a standoff situation. This is an office building. A lot of these folks, this probably will take hours. Hopefully it won't, but it probably will take hours, and a lot of people are not going to be able to get to their vehicles tonight, and probably are going to have to make some sort of other arrangements to get home. As you can see, this is like, I'm going wider here just so you can see, it does appear to be businesses all around office buildings and a lot of vehicles right in the proximity, and the officers are not going to take that chance. Even if your car isn't right there, if there's shots being fired or possibility of shots being fired, they're not going to let many of these people get to their vehicles tonight. So a lot of folks are going to be inconvenienced, as this suspect is basically in a situation right now, hopefully negotiating with officers, hopefully going to be able to get some of the things that he wants so that he brings this to an end peacefully.
Yeah, and a couple of things I was just wondering. Number one, why can't he just call his mom on his cell phone, right? Unless the Newport Beach Police Department doesn't want him to get off the phone and keep that open line of communication going. And number two, Stu, if this goes into the evening hours, could they bring in one of those robots, you know, the ones that get close enough to, you know, either deliver a message or break a window?
Oh, definitely, definitely. If this goes on and on and on, I'm sure SWAT will arrive out here. They'll have the armored vehicles show up. Just something to break the monotony of the shot that we've been holding. And hopefully nothing dramatic happens right as we pull away. You can see the officers are definitely shutting down the roads out here. Like you said, the Fashion Island is right there. You can see a command post has already been set up. The fire trucks are here. I'm sure ambulances will show up as well. And they are closing down roads in the area. So they are, you know, slowly building up to the idea that this is going to be going on for a while. And then again, all these people in these office buildings, I don't know where the exits are per se, but there might be a situation where law enforcement might have to escort a lot of these people out of these buildings. That means more officers are going to have to show up. And then, like we've been talking about, none of these cars are going to be leaving this parking lot as long as a potentially armed suspect is in a standoff situation with officers.
Yeah, Stu, and we're continuing to watch this unfold here right now. The driver of that Mercedes-Benz still in communication there with the Newport Beach Police Department. Just a short time ago, we were told that he asked officers that he'd like to speak with his mother. So that is some of the new developments there right now. So we watch this continuing to unfold. You got to say something, Stu, here, even from a news person's standpoint. We see this all the time, but it's so interesting to see all this unfold from an observer's perspective. We're watching this happen. This obviously doesn't wrap up as a 1 hour drama where it all ends up in a tight little bow at the end of 1 hour. This takes hours and hours, and we see just the hard work that everybody puts into it. And as officers and the CHP and everyone's told us in the past, not only is the public's safety important to them, but also the suspect's safety. They want to get this guy in custody and bring this all to an end.
Oh, definitely, and we've heard that so many times in the past where They do. They don't. It isn't like they. It's not all means necessary to get this guy into custody. It's actually the opposite. They want him into custody safely. I was just pushing in with those two officers right there. The one, at least with the rifle, he's got a perch that he can stand on. But this other one here by the door, he's had his gun in that position for quite some time, and you've just got to just think to yourself, if you had to hold your hands, he's trying to get the blood flowing back into his hands. So you're right, these officers are working very hard. They are very disciplined, and then not only fatigued, but they also have to keep an eye on what's going on inside that car. Yeah. So, and that's the thing also, if he makes a quick move, if he makes a sudden move, they have to make that decision very quickly. Is it a weapon? Was it a shot fired? So these officers, highly trained, and in a situation right now where I'm glad it's not me, and these guys are trained for that. A lot of activity inside the vehicle, though. That's what I've been getting texts about. But again, we're not going to take that chance and push in. But apparently, he is moving around in there. Might actually be a little agitated, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe changing up that attitude might work. He's working through something, and just get out of the car. Go into custody, put those cuffs on, and bring this to an end.
Stu, information that I'm just reading right now is that the driver is from Newport Beach. He lives in this area. Maybe that answers the question. The question to the fact that we were wondering why he was driving around this particular area for so long. He lives here. He lives in Newport Beach. He's familiar.
Yep, these people tend to stay in the areas that they're familiar with for the most part. And then again, this guy apparently, I don't know what the no bail warrant is, and I can only imagine that to that person, it must be something pretty dramatic that he's going through these great lengths to stay away from those officers, or try not to go into custody, even to the lengths where he's threatening death. So that must be something that for him is very, very important or very dramatic. But for these officers, this is what they train for. This is what they're dealing with. I'm sure, I'm hoping that some real professionals are talking to him, trying to get him at least some help on the phone, talk him down out of this. Yeah. But right now, standoff situation, weapons drawn, possibly armed suspect, and this all ending in a business area that is very full this afternoon. And like I said earlier on, streets are starting to be closed down. Command posts are being set up right next to Fashion Island, and just not even a half block away, there's an armed standoff. Yeah, you talked about bringing SWAT in. Well, we're getting word that they're bringing armed vehicles in.
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
Yeah, and so, it's time. They're bringing them in. They're bringing the heavy guns in. Well, I don't know how quickly they move, but in the past we've seen that usually that takes a little bit of time. They'll arrive, they'll talk about it, they'll give this guy some time to simmer down. Like I said, time is really the best weapon the officers have right now. And then if that doesn't happen, then they'll probably move those officers' vehicles out of the way, but in a way where you can't just shoot out of there. So they'll bring them in, and then they'll box them in, and then there'll be even some more standoff, but now there'll be an armed vehicle blocking that vehicle in, and there might be an officer right there in front of him. So it's going to be a long situation unless that guy comes to a conclusion and brings this to an end on his own, hopefully by just coming out of the vehicle, hands up, and getting those cuffs placed on him. And those officers are prepared. They've established a command post, a perimeter. They're bringing in the SWAT. So yeah, they're prepared to stay with this for the long haul. And Stu, would SWAT be the ones the ones to handle that robot we were talking about earlier, or how would SWAT differ in their role from the Newport Beach Police Department? Well, those guys are trained for these type of tactical situations. They have heavy armory, meaning that I don't know what type of vehicle they have, but let's just say the armored vehicle that they use down here, they'll bring that up. They'll basically drive it up over there, block that vehicle in so that there's no possibility that car can move or drive out of there. And then those vehicles are heavily armored. So now you have officers behind a lot of armor with the ability you know, they'll have their weapons still trained on that driver. So that changes up the dynamic, and then hopefully that will wake that guy up a little bit more. Hopefully it won't even get that far. That's really what I'm hoping for. Hopefully that he might get to talk to his mom or whatever, whoever he wants to talk to, and they will say, hey, what are you doing? Just, you know, we'll get through this. Just go into custody. But right now, it's a very tense situation out here. Armed standoff. Many more officers are starting to arrive out here. We haven't seen those armored vehicles, but I'm sure they're on their way. And you can see the officers a little differently dressed. And these guys, they might be, let's just say, trained for this type of situation. So we'll see what goes on, but a lot of these guys, they're just going to kind of disappear. We won't see them, but they will be out there with their weapons trained on that suspect. And of course, there's a canine out there as well. But that dog is not going to be used until they at least have a broken window or a door open or some way for that dog to make his way into that vehicle.
Yeah, that makes sense, Stu, because even during the pursuit, we never really saw the driver roll down his window. Or anything like that, and it wasn't until...
Normally we see those drivers in pursuits roll down the window, throw things out, acting erratically, or sticking an arm out. But no, this guy seems pretty closed in that car, in that Mercedes.
He seems to be in a mindset where he wants to control the situation, and just that aggressive move and the stance and the standoff and the comments that were made just kind of shows that this person wants to control the situation, believes that he can control the situation. Hopefully, he'll come to the conclusion that the best outcome is just to get out of that vehicle. But right now, it's the convincing that driver that is the best outcome. That's what the issue is, and that is way above my pay grade. And hopefully, they have the people that are talking to him, and they can. You know, whoever that person is can click with the suspect, and they can talk this out, and this thing can come to an end peacefully.
Yeah, and let's hope his mom has that power to bring this all to an end here. So we are seeing the SWAT arrive on scene here in Newport Beach. Newport Beach officers have been with gun drawns for quite a while now. You saw there, and Stu was just telling us moments ago, there's the SWAT vehicle right there getting into place. More officers arriving on the scene, even possibly to relieve the ones that have been in this standoff, just watching this guy here. They're also on scene here. So,
or the ones that are positioned with their guns drawn, because that is very tiring.
That they are going to need some relief here as well. So we are watching this unfold, a pursuit that is now turned into at least a 20 or 30-minute standoff there with Newport Beach police officers inside a parking lot there. The driver himself cornering himself into this area that is blocked off by planters and now by a lot of law enforcement there, so really nowhere else to go for him. And again, we're waiting to hear what's going to be happening next, because he did request to speak to his mother. He apparently has been in contact with the Newport Beach dispatch officer back at the station, which of course relays the information to the officers there on the scene. And now SWAT arriving there with their heavily armored vehicle and also with their specially trained officers that are going to hopefully bring this to an end. Yeah,
Stu, we saw the armored vehicle approach from the rear, from behind the driver. Do you see that truck, the black truck?
Yep, definitely. These guys are very methodical. They don't just show up and do their own thing. It isn't like anything on television where you have the rogue officers. They're going to go to the command post. They're going to talk to the people that are in charge. They're going to make decisions. They're going to make a plan, and then they're pretty much going to stick to it. I did see that armored vehicle make its way into this parking lot right here where he drove off to. I've been concentrating on that actual scene, but definitely made his way into this area right here. So he's on scene, and eventually they'll probably make their way back over to that car, but it's not going to be quick. This isn't one of those things where they're just going to rush into it. They're going to take their time. They're going to make their plans. They're going to make sure that all their T's are crossed and all their I's are dotted before they get in here and really put this suspect's feet to the coals and say, you know what, you need to get out.
Yeah. Well, in case you work in this area, the Newport Center area, you're not going anywhere because of this. your best bet is probably to take a cab, or in this case, a ride share.
Uber home, yeah.
Uber or
Find
Lyft
somebody
home.
else who can take you home.
This is going to be going on for quite some time. You see a number of cars in that parking lot. A lot of people will not be driving their cars home tonight. And as Stu mentioned earlier, talked about earlier, in fact, that you're going to have to come back and pick up your car tomorrow if this persists and this continues. But, you know, law enforcement doing as best they can to try to talk this pursuit suspect down, when I say down, off the edge, and trying to bring this to a peaceful ending. As Juan talked about earlier, he was asking to speak to his mother. Hopefully they have his mother on the phone, and hopefully they're in a conversation right now. And hopefully Mom can talk some sense into her son.
But look at that, officers still with their guns pointed right at him just in case he does make an erratic move. And if you're wondering why this is happening and just joining us and watching this unfold, that is because earlier today during the pursuit, he did tell officers he had a gun in the car and that officers would have to stop him from using it. So you can imagine what that means. He made threats. So far, we haven't seen a gun, but CHP did tell us they saw some sort of bag in the passenger seat of this Mercedes that the driver kept reaching into and fidgeting with. But so far, we haven't seen much action here on the scene where this driver parked his car now facing officers who responded to the scene. These are Newport Beach police. Also, the SWAT team has arrived there on the scene just moments ago. So this all coming together very quickly. It may not seem like it to those watching us at home right now, but things have come into place rather quickly there. And of course, they want this this driver to just simply turn himself in, to lower the window, throw out the keys, show he's not armed, and bring himself into custody with the officers there. So we're just watching this unfold. As Stu mentioned, time is on the side of these officers. They are going to let this play out as long as it needs to, but hopefully this will be coming to an end soon, but we never know. We just don't know.
You see a number of officers poised there in position surrounding that small lot there where that car, the Mercedes is. You see a number of officers outside their car, guns drawn. That is SWAT, I believe. Those are SWAT members.
And there's the dog that we were talking about earlier, that Stu was talking about. He's right there underneath that tree right there, the German Shepherd. But as Stu was mentioning, the window's not even cracked there, Sharon, so the dog's not going to be sent in because the driver is safely locked in his car right now. So we're going to see what happens there. He's not going anywhere, that's for sure. As you can see there, there's a Newport Beach cruiser just to the north of the shot right there, blocking the two spaces. There's the planters. Yeah, there's the one Stu's giving us that shot right there. There's those planters behind him and just to the right of him. So it's not going to be going anywhere anytime soon.
No, not at all.
Stu, you've been watching this unfold. What can you show us that we aren't noticing ourselves out here?
Well, it's just as pretty much we're talking about what we see, and that's all we can do right now. I wouldn't even want to get involved in what's going on between in that conversation with the suspect. I can tell you that the actual fashion center itself not being evacuated. There are some streets being blocked. You can see right there. The fire department is here on scene. An ambulance is here on scene. If this turns into a situation where they need medical care quickly, a lot of those SWAT guys, those first responding SWAT guys, they all have they have paramedics with them. They're not all paramedics, but some of them actually have paramedic training for suspects and also for other officers if that situation turns into something like that. We see the armored vehicle has arrived, so that's a plus. It's here, but again, it's not going to just basically plow its way into there, and there it goes, it's starting to move. Hopefully it will, but I don't think it will. They're just going to kind of move it around. And then it's a show of force also. There's something, it's called command presence. When they show up, that guy in the car might start to realize, hey, this is not going, I'm not going anywhere. This is getting serious. They're not going to let me leave.
And Stu, as you're saying, they're parking that vehicle in an area where he can definitely get a chance to see it.
Oh, wait a minute. We see
Stu, the door's opening.
Stu?
Yeah, the door just opened up, and again, this is one of those situations where my reflex was to push in, but
don't do it yet.
We can't because of the situation. There
Wow.
we go. We got the guy getting out.
Wow.
He's definitely on the ground. I don't know if this is a safe point where I can push in. I'm kind of waiting for a wink or a nod or something from somebody, but you know what? I'm going to go ahead and risk it.
I think
definitely
so,
looks
Stu.
like he's going to go ahead.
He's down.
I think
There
it's
you go.
safe.
You can
His
see him
legs
there
are
on the
crossed. He's
ground.
in the position.
So,
yeah.
Yep, legs are crossed. He seems like he's doing what the commands are, which is great. This is what everybody wanted to see, or how they wanted to bring this to an end. But definitely right now it looks like he's complying. But then again, you know, with those threats, with what was going on, you can see the officers not running over there, not just making this quick dash to throw those cuffs on him. He got out of the vehicle, seemed like on his own. That's the only thing I can say. If there was some sort of discussion, or if he called, like we said, he's been on the phone, maybe he told somebody from dispatch, like, hey, I'm getting out. But you can see how cautious these officers are because of those threats that were being made. This person made it clear that he was looking for suicide by cop. So you can see what's going on right there. They're going to make that group attempt to take this guy into custody. And of course, there you go.
There you go, is right.
One arm, two arms, and the cuffs are on him. So this is coming to an end out here in the Newport Beach area. This is great news for a lot of the folks that are out here, and of course for that suspect, and now, as we understand, his mom as well. But a lot of people are probably going to be able to get home tonight, use their cars to get home. I don't think they're just going to wrap this up super quick. This is going to be here for a little bit, but definitely coming to an end in a peaceful way. That suspect in custody, and you can see the cuffs going on him, and so the threat is neutralized, and that suspect definitely in custody. And you know what? This is the best way. Like we said, we don't know what the no bail warrant was, but definitely whatever it is, it can be worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stu, and we saw him.
Such a good sign.
They checked him for weapons. They rolled him over. They cuffed him. He didn't even resist.
No. He came
So
out
that's
peacefully.
definitely a good thing, and the outcome that everybody wanted. So hopefully it was the power of that force that Stu was talking about, and also the power of his mother, who we wanted to speak to earlier today. So Stu, thank you so much for bringing us those pictures. So Sharon, we continue to monitor this. We saw it unfold, and we were able to give our viewers an end, which was this suspect now in custody.
Yeah, and we didn't see a gun. Hopefully he didn't have a gun. But there you see the man, apparently from Newport Beach, that particular town, in custody finally after leading police on a chase throughout Orange County.
We're going to have the very latest on this story. Want to thank you so much for watching KCAL 9 News at 4. Turning it over now to CBS 2 News at 5 for the latest on this breaking news story. Thanks for watching.